Hello and welcome to the Colorado Beer Trail. I'm Jim Burris, and I'm here today with Eric Wallace, who's the owner, president, and founder of Left Hand Brewing here in Longmont, Colorado. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you very much.
You know, we're right here on the eve of one of America's favorite drinking holidays, St. Paddy's Day, and you have, or bringing to the table, your milk stout, which is one of the most popular stouts in the United States. Tell me about it.
It started as a project after my partner Dick had been traveling in Africa. He came across a milk stout, a style he'd never heard of. And when he got back here to the brewery, he said, I want to try and make one of these. They basically weren't available in the States back then. This was early 2000s. So we brewed up a batch. We served it on draft only. It was quite popular. The next year we did a couple batches, and we started putting it into bomber bottles. And a couple years after, when we started putting it in the six-packs, it was off to the races. And the style became extremely popular for us.
Fantastic. And, you know, unique about this beer is the fact that you've figured out how to bottle it without a widget, with nitrogen as the gas that it carbonates with instead of carbon dioxide. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we do it. We actually do it both ways. The traditional style with the CO2, that's probably about 40% of the milk stout production, and then the other 60% or so is nitrogenated. So we figured out a way, but first starting to do it consistently and in volume and draft, and we started playing around with that. And then over a course of a couple of years, we figured out how to actually get the same kind of performance in the bottle, and that was quite a trick, and that's continuing to drive growth for us. And strangely enough, I think we're one of the few breweries in the country that can say we have a stout as our flagship.
That is quite impressive. You've also used this nitrogenation as a component of your Sawtooth Ale and another one of your beers? Yeah,
we've recently started rolling out into various markets a nitro version of the Sawtooth, and then we also have Nitro Wake Up Dead, which is our Imperial Stout. That's a super limited beer. It takes 3 months to make a batch, so that beer will never be widely and readily available. When you see it, if you want it, you should buy it because it will be gone the next week, and we have a hard time keeping that in stock here.
And tell me about the difference between a nitrogenated beer, especially your milk stout, and the traditional carbonation. What's the difference?
Well, the milk stout itself, the CO2 version, is already a pretty soft beer because the lactose, which is a complex carbohydrate, it gives you a low, soft, creamy sweetness that balances out the roastiness of the malt. So you've got this very dark beer that's generally tend to be fairly roasty, toasty malt character, and we use the lactose to balance that out. And then when we started putting a nitrogen version out there, then it softens up the beer even more. So you get this really thick, creamy head and a really, really soft mouthfeel on the palate. So it's really a very deceptive beer. A lot of people look at a dark beer and think, oh, it's dark, it's scary. But then they try it, and we've convinced a lot of people that they like beer over the years just through introducing them to milk stout.
And the other thing, too, is this is a kind of a medium to low gravity beer. It's not a high alcohol beer, correct?
It's not super high. It's 6%. So I wouldn't call it a session beer, but it's not out of control high in alcohol either.
And I think one of my favorite things about it is visually it's delicious. I mean, you pour, basically invert your bottle, slowly pull it up through the glass as the head follows the top of the bottle upside down, and you get that wonderful cascade of the bubbles and that fine, creamy nitrogen head. Do you recommend pouring it in a certain type of glass, or what's your favorite way of serving?
Well, I would pour it into a pint glass, a 16-ounce pint glass, so that you can actually pour it correctly. Because if you don't pour it correctly, you're wasting your time. You won't get the cascade. But if you pour it correctly into a pint glass, you can safely pour an entire bottle in, and you'll see the cascade just as if it was poured on draft.
So we have a milk stout nitro, America's stout. This is, if not one of, it's the best-selling stout beer in America and made here in America, Longmont, Colorado. Cheers.